This just got interesting. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be covering the Houthi attack boats that were taken out by the US Navy. 3 of those attack boats were destroyed by an H-60 Seahawk helicopter carrying a .50 caliber machine gun that was shot out of the door of the helicopter at the fast boats. They destroyed 3 of the fast boats, killing all of the occupants in those boats, and then 1 boat got away. So 1 boat lived to tell the story, and I'm sure the Houthis now know that the US Navy is very serious, although the Navy has released exact terminology that has said that they do not want to escalate this conflict. They want this to not grow into something bigger, but the Houthis have responded and said that this is in retaliation for Israel's extended campaign in Gaza. Now, the Houthis are backed by Iran, so this is essentially a proxy war in the region where these pirates, this extremist group called the Houthis, are attacking more and more container ships, and the Houthis have actually released verbiage saying that they will not stop these attacks, and in fact they'll continue to escalate them. And the fact that they are funded by Iran, it just makes sense, because if they are to stop these attacks, then the funding will be cut off as well. So again, we're looking at a proxy war where Iran is supplying the necessary equipment, the weapons, and most likely the fast boats themselves to the Houthi rebels to keep them in business and to keep them harassing these ships in the Red Sea. And the Houthis have used gunboats in their attacks before. Some of these gunboats are unmanned, where they'll load them up with explosives from a relatively close distance from another boat and launch that towards a container ship or some vessel carrying cargo, or they'll try to board the ship themselves. And this is what happened in this example recently. The Houthis actually attempted to board the ship in question, this large container ship. And that container ship was called the Maersk Hangzhou, and it was carrying over 10,000 containers as it passed through the Red Sea, and its destination being Port Suez in Egypt. That ship has continued their journey now that the threat has been eliminated for now, and the US Navy is responsible for the safe passage of that vessel. And it looks like the US's response is what you would expect. They're basically saying, Houthis, stop doing what you're doing and we will stop destroying your boats. But the US has also said that all they need the Houthis to do is lay down their arms. And again, like we talked about with Iran pulling the strings, that's unlikely that that'll happen. And the initial attack on the Maersk happened when Houthis approached the boat and tried to board the boat. But security that had been hired to be aboard that boat was able to return fire and push the Houthis off of the boat itself. The US Navy showed up after receiving the Mayday calls from the ship, and they saw that the boats were again approaching this container ship. They saw 4 boats approaching the container ship, and they spoke to these boats saying, depart the area immediately. And that's something that you definitely want to heed. And I'm sure that that will now be told to other fast boats, that as soon as they get that first warning call, that first loud voice comes over the airwaves and says, hey, get out of this area, that's your last shot. So when that boat continued and actually fired upon the helicopters, that's when the helicopters returned fire in self-defense. And the Maersk also can confirm that after the initial attack on the vessel, 4 boats approached the vessel and engaged fire in an expected attempt to board the vessel again. And that's coming from Adish Alawani, a Maersk spokesperson. And the National Security Council spokesperson for the United States, John Kirby, commented on the incident. He said the US does not seek to escalate the conflict, and he said that on Good Morning America. He said, we don't seek a conflict wider in the region, and we're not looking for a conflict with the Houthis. Kirby told that to ABC News' Whit Johnson, and he continued and said the best outcome here would be for the Houthis to stop these attacks, as we have made clear over and over again. So Kirby's emphasizing the fact that if the Houthis just don't do what they're doing, attacking these ships, that we won't need to attack them. But that's going to be a tough move for the Houthis to actually follow through on, since again, their funding comes from Iran with the promise that they actually continue to attack ships. John Kirby emphasized the importance of the Red Sea shipping corridor and the critical need to keep it safe and open for international commerce. And on a personal note, I actually trained to strafe fast boats with an F-15E, and you can bet any F-15E or F-16 or F-18 squadrons in the area are going to be ready to strafe fast boats. And this could be a wider problem that we see. The fast boats that I actually trained to strafe against was in a scenario where Iran would try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz and stop the oil from flowing through that region. These fast boats could operate anywhere from 20 miles per hour up to 70 miles per hour, with some of them being loaded with explosives that would just ram into oil tankers or cargo vessels. And some of them had people on board, like these gunboats in this most recent incident, and they would pull up next to these large vessels and do what these Houthis just tried to do: board the vessel, take control of it, and get a ransom for it, or who knows, in some cases, try to destroy the vessel altogether. But the training to strafe a fast boat is incredibly awesome, I might say, and having done that training, I know how good it is, and I know how the US Navy and the US Air Force are ready and prepared for the situation should it continue to develop. Strafing boats and practicing strafing boats is something that the US excels at, and who knows, there might be a chance that fighter jets get the chance to do that, and alongside the Seahawk helicopter, take out these fast boats that are threatening any of the cargo or any of the shipping lanes near the Red Sea. And it's worth noting that the small boats originated from Houthi-controlled areas in Yemen. They were firing crew-served and small armed weapons at the Maersk Hangzhou, getting to within 20 meters of the vessel, and that's when they attempted to board the vessel. U.S. Central Command for the United States went on to say, while the helicopters were in the process of issuing verbal calls to the small boats fired upon the U.S. helicopters with crew-served weapons and small arms. In a statement released by the Houthis, they said the group lost 10 members after U.S. forces fired on their vessels, referring to the engagement as dangerous behavior that will have negative repercussions. But again, the U.S. does not seek to escalate this conflict, but when your business is war, war is going to be the business that you continue to try to drive, and that's exactly what the Houthis are going to do. And it's worth noting that the Houthis have done this for a long time. The area of ocean near Yemen has been some of the most dangerous straits to drive boats through for decades. So now let's talk about some of the sources where these fast boats have come from and may be coming from right now. The Houthis actually seized fast boats from the Yemeni army when they took control of many of the arsenals of that army in September of 2014. The second way that the Houthis may have gotten the boats are seizing them and confiscating them from fishermen, especially modern ones, which have been rehabilitated, equipped, and ready to go, ready to move fast. And then they've updated those and added on things that make it more capable for a military vessel. The third way, and probably the most likely in this scenario, is they're Iranian-made boats, and they were smuggled to the port of Al Houthi, and that's where they were then transferred to the Houthis, and the Houthis updated them, added machine guns, or they could add explosives as well. But Iran, being the backer of this group, means that their access to these boats is most likely not going to stop. And it's worth saying that Yemen's permanent representative to the United Nations, Abdullah al-Sadi, said that the Houthi group is using the city of Al Houthi and its port to prepare and launch booby-trapped boats. So most likely we're going to continue to see these boats that don't have any people on them. Think of, drone boats that may continue these types of attacks. But luckily we've got the H-60 Seahawks with those 50 caliber machine guns flying off of the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier. Along with that, you've got F-18s that are absolutely capable of strafing fast boats. You've got F-15Es in the Middle East and F-16s as well that train to strafe fast boats on a regular basis. So as this situation continues to develop, I will keep you updated. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can pop over to Patreon, Max Afterburner there, say hello and get some bonus content, and then hit me up on Instagram if you'd like to say hello there. It's Max Afterburner Life. Thanks so much for watching. Please dominate that like button, and then check out another video. That's basically the best compliment you can give me, and then maybe recommend the channel to a friend. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on one of these videos that pops up over here. Have a great day.